everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cosmic Conversations. I am your host, Marla Martenson, and today we're going to be talking about energy and yoga and health and intuition, juicy topics. So I am with Lauren Walker, author of this amazing new book, The Energy Medicine Yoga Prescription. Hey, Lauren.
Hi, how are you?
Great. So tell us a little bit about you and how you got into this, and then we'll talk about what energy medicine yoga is.
Sounds great. So I had been studying and teaching yoga for about 10 years, and I loved it. When I first started doing yoga, it was like so many people. I just felt like I had come home to my body. I was grounded, I was centered, I felt strong, and I kept getting stronger. I loved it. And then, life happens and things kept happening in my world. And I loved yoga and I loved teaching yoga, but I was noticing that that issues were coming up that the yoga wasn't helping me to resolve. And then I had a series of, I had a lemony snicket year, a series of unfortunate events. And I ended up leaving my yoga studio. I left my country. I moved to Canada. And within the span of a month, two different people, one in the States and one in Canada, had introduced me to the work of Donna Eden, who is my teacher. And she is a profound healer, teacher, writer. She's just incredible person in the world. And I got the chance to study with her and really dive deep into her work. And what I found was sort of the missing piece for me for the yoga. Yoga is all about energy, and yet it's not really taught that way, in a way that we can understand it and access it. Yoga talks about energy in a very esoteric, very advanced, very subtle way, and in fact it's called the subtle body. And there's a lot of programs and courses out there, yoga and the subtle body, and the subtle. So I started studying with Donna, and you know what? Energy is not subtle. It is not subtle at all. It is right there. It is the underpinning of everything. It's the thing that makes everything work, and you can get your hands right in it right away, super easy, and have effects in your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies that happen on a dime. Now, there's other things that might take longer to resolve, but the thing is that once you get your energy to resolve, to coordinate, to harmonize, to get cohesive and coherent, then everything else in your life has to follow that path, because those are the rules that energy follows. And so it was like, for me, a light bulb moment when I started putting this work together. Yoga is powerful. Donna's work is literally about miracles. She is the miracle woman. She healed herself completely from MS. Western medicine had said, we're done with you, we have nothing else, go get your affairs in order. That's literally what they said. Find someone to raise your kids. And she said for her, that was like the best advice ever. Because she was like, if that was her moment, she turned away and said, I can do this myself. I can heal myself. And then she started teaching everybody else what she did. And I took that work and I started weaving that into a yoga practice, and so many people do yoga. So to me, it was like I could have stayed on the yoga path, or I could go on the miracle path. And for me, that was just, there's no question. I'm going for miracles every day of the week.
That's amazing. Yeah, I've heard of, I've seen Donna Eden, some of her YouTube videos and interviews, and a friend of mine told me about her only about a year ago, and I'm a Reiki practitioner and everything. I had not heard of her until about a year or two ago. So yeah, she's always so happy and bright and just amazing. So when I saw that in your book that you were a student of Donna Eden, I was like, wow, that's amazing. I have questions. So tell us a little bit about, I'm looking at, now there's diagrams in here to show you how to do these moves, and what I love about it is like, so you can just be at home, roll out a little mat and go through a half an hour, or even if you wanted to do 5 or 10 minutes, pick some favorite moves. So explain a little bit about what it is, because people will do this at home.
Absolutely. And I love what you said, that you can do 5 or 10 minutes, because that's the truth. A lot of us, we want to do this whole thing, but it's an hour and a half every day. I don't have an hour and a half every day.
Yeah.
I don't have an hour and a half every day. You probably don't. But the beauty of this energy work is It is very simple, it is very accessible, and you can do little bits and pieces of it. Now, if you want to do the whole program, there's 5, 10, 20, 30-minute practices, all the way up to an hour and a half practices you can do on your yoga mat. But the beautiful thing is, too, is you can take this off your mat. And, we just talked at the very beginning about, if you're stressed out, hold here or here, either both or just one, 2 or 3 fingers in the sternal notch and a hand over your forehead. I do this one when I'm driving, especially if I'm driving in LA, which I try not to do, but occasionally I get down there and I'm driving. I'm the whole time with my fingers here, because what it does is it takes the stress out of the system. Okay. And for me, fight or flight response is like driving in LA traffic. So I do this, I'm calm as a cucumber. I can go as far as I need to. So a lot of these techniques can be taken out of context and used individually. And the book is really laid out really simply so you can track it through. It's based on the 5-element system, which is everything in the universe falls into this system. So at the one hand, it's ginormous. It's your health, your personality, the physical body, your mental, emotional, spiritual body, the planet, everything on the planet, the animals, the seasons, right? It's like, whoa, that's too much. It is, but you know what? Everything is one of 5 things. So if you have headaches, it's one of 5 things that is causing them. If you have stomach aches, it's one of 5 things. If you suffer from anxiety, or you have cancer, or you have Parkinson's, or you have grief that you can't let go of, anything that you've got going on is only one of 5 things that is the primary imbalance in your body. So you can look up all of these ailments that you might have.
They're in here, the list, and which,
Yep. You can go through and you find, okay, so I have an imbalance in the metal element. I'm going to do that practice. I'm going to bring myself back into balance. Or I'm imbalanced just in the emotional component. I'm really going through some emotional anxiety or anger or grief. I might just do that little breath practice or that little energy practice for just that emotion. So you can you make it work for you 100%.
Oh, I love it. Now, I hear a lot of people, I have one friend with ulcerative colitis. I have another, and then I hear of a lot of women with fibromyalgia, which is just, what is that, catch-all phrase for inflammation or something they don't know. So do you have some techniques for those kinds of things too?
Absolutely. So here's the thing, especially when you're talking about a dis-ease pattern that's taken hold larger, right? That's bigger than headaches, that's bigger than rash on your skin. So if you have gotten to the place where something like that is manifesting, then you've gotten far out of balance, which is when the body can deal with whatever is thrown at it and come back to center. And so really what you have to do is bring your underlying energy into balance. And so if you have any kind of disease pattern, the very first thing you want to start to do is the wake-up technique. That's in this book. It's in my first book, which a lot of your viewers might already have. I've got it on YouTube channels. You can get it for free. You don't even have to buy a book. And it's just about getting your energy awake, moving forward, and crossing over. That's like the very baseline. And some people are like, I don't understand what that means energetically in your body. What are you talking about? So you think about it like this. You get in your car. First you fill your tank with gas, then you get in your car. First thing you do is you turn the dial, right? Click, click, and now you turn the car on. And then you take the shifter, if you've got a stick shift, you press the 2 pedals and you put it into forward. If you've got an automatic, you just take the gear shaft or the stick and you put it into drive. And then you press the gas and you go. You've got the same kind of system in the human body. There's here, that's your click, click, turn it on. And then you do this, and you get the forward motion, you put it into forward, and you drive, and then you go. And so these very simple techniques that are going to start the body towards this healing path. Okay. And, if you're suffering from something that's really intense, then you might have to do several different things. And I know a lot of us that are on that sort of alternative healing path, you're doing, smoothies, kale smoothies, and Reiki, and yoga, and, aromatherapy, and reflexology, and you've got to kind of find which one is going to be the one that clicks your energy system into that healing mode. And so, primarily, all of that, you have to start working with your energy. Your smoothies aren't going to work until you get your energy underlying. And then, a lot of a lot of people are now, we're understanding more and more, we've got to look at the emotional component. What's going on? And that doesn't mean, going to therapy and screaming and railing, and my mother was horrible to me, or whatever. It means like a continual processing of your emotional body, whether you're conscious of it or not. And there's a practice in this book that leads you through. You don't even have to think about it. Your mother, your father, your ex-boyfriend, whatever it is, you don't have to bring it to consciousness. You do these movements and these sounds and these breaths, and it releases those stuck and toxic energies from the body. So it's powerful work. You got to get on the mat and do it.
Yes, I know breath work is very powerful for that, releasing a lot of that. I've done some where I've gone in Los Angeles to a breath work session, and you lay down on a mat for 30 minutes. You're doing that powerful breath work, which is very hard, but afterwards you're like, oh my gosh, it can be life-changing. I've been doing shamanic journeys with plant medicine, with a shaman once a month, and I'm there all day, and you're monitored, and boy, the energy, so you're going to love this. I'm laying there the last one a couple weeks ago, because I lay down during the whole time, and about 15 minutes into it, my legs are like this. My whole body is like this for about 2 hours. And it was kind of like the medicine was recalibrating my energy and releasing stuff, and it was so amazing. Then I felt like under my thighs was being massaged or almost squeezed, and then just the energy that's released. And when I started doing these journeys, it was really to open up I thought I want to open up my intuition more. The pineal gland, which we're going to talk about, because I do energy work and readings, and but guess what? That wasn't what it had in mind. It had in mind releasing emotions about my mother, about my marriage, about, things that I had stuck, anger and things, and that can cause disease. So yeah, that releasing the emotions that we've got to get out. So talk about this work with emotions get stuck in our organs, because there's been times I've been in a yoga class and I start crying. And that's because some of these moves will release some emotion.
Absolutely. Oh my God, there's so much to unpack.
I know.
The first thing that I just want to comment on is one of the rules of energy is that it has priorities and hierarchy. So you went in there for one thing. This is what I want.
Yeah.
I want pineal gland, I want intuition. But your energy is like, that's not our priority. Our priority is we got to release this emotion. We've got to release this physical, whatever that trembling is in the body. We've got to release that nervous system imprint. Yeah. So your energy has priorities. And I love what you're talking about, the massaging and the moving. A lot of the work that we do, so energy medicine yoga class might look like, or your practice, very similar to a yoga class. You'll be doing downward dog and upward dog if that's in the flow for you do, or chair pose, or, all hands and knees and child's pose. But all of these poses will have an added component, an energy medicine component, where you're either holding or massaging or sweeping off some part of the body or tapping or thumping or stretching. And so you were kind of getting that done shamanically to your body, but it's also things that you can do yourself, and that's what we do in an EMYoga practice. In terms of the emotion, so the reason I chose the 5 elements for the focus of this book is because the 5 elements gives us a direct correlation and connection and way to get in to the physical body through the emotions. And we know now scientifically that it works both ways. Your emotions affect your physiology, and your physiology affect your emotions. So you can work with them either direction depending on how you want to. But each emotion has a complex or the elemental bundle of organs that work with them. So water element, the first element, is fear balanced by courage, and that affects your kidney and bladder, as well as your teeth, your bones, and all the fluids in your body except your blood. And that's fear. So if you've got fear that you haven't processed, what happens is it energetically becomes physicalized into the physical body, because that's how energy, it's very diffuse, and then it gets stronger and stronger, closer together, tighter and tighter, and it becomes physical, like our physical form. We are just energy, but we're vibrating at a different frequency than, say, the auric field around me, which I can't see. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a field of energy. I can't see it, but I know it's there. I can feel it. But so emotions are the same thing. They're energy and they're charges. And so if I don't release that energy, it will get stuck and physicalize. And one of the shamans that I study with, Martin Practel, he says that in his language, in Quechua, the word the word tumor is frozen tear. That's what it means. So it's like, it's known through shamanic systems all over the world that if we don't deal with and release and transform our emotions, they become physicalized.
Yes.
So that's water, fear. Mm-hmm. Then we get into wood, which is spring element, which is anger balanced by assertiveness. Mm-hmm. That's your muscles, tendons, ligaments in your body, as well as your liver and your gallbladder. So those are all affected. Now, many other things as well underneath that, but I'm giving you just the umbrella.
Now, what do you mean balanced by? You'll say it, and then anger balanced by. What is that? What do you mean?
So anger is the challenging emotion, right? Where if you're challenged by anger, you know what I mean by that. Whether you're feeling that emotion and don't know what to do with it, or especially for a lot of women, you're not feeling that emotion. Maybe you're not allowed to. Women have always been, anger's not an emotion that's allowed. You're allowed to grieve, you're allowed to be afraid, but you're not allowed to be angry, right? But you still have that anger, even if society isn't saying you're allowed to. Right. So in order for that anger to give you its information and not destroy you or anyone else, right? Because there's an internal and an external with that. So anger turned inwards becomes depression, becomes negative self-talk, becomes issues in the physical body. Anger turned outward becomes violence in the world, either small, like in your own small world or community, or large, which we see happening over and over again. Instead, what we want to do with that anger is turn it into assertiveness. Okay. So, in other words, how do you use that powerful, fierce emotion? And usually it's about unfairness to you or to somebody else or some kind of, it's a powerful emotion. But it has a lot of power, and if it's channeled well, then you see like the Million Woman March, right? That's assertiveness. That's like, we're not going to destroy anything. Right. We are going to stand up and be assertive and say, this is what needs to happen now. Mm-hmm. Does that mean it happens instantaneously? No. But that negative display of anger also doesn't give you results. And you're more likely to get results with the positive, that balanced emotion. So that fierce standing of your ground, that fierce standing in the place. It's like, what are you willing to stand up for? And that's how you balance that anger. And you do it through these breathing practices, these sounds that are very specific to these organs, and these poses. For this one, it's called expelling the venom. I mean, that's how powerful anger is. That's the name of the pose, is expelling the venom.
Right. Yeah, because some people maybe in a work situation, they have a boss who is passive-aggressive or mean, so you're kind of taking that on. Or maybe you have a spouse that, goes off on you and yells at you, but you just try to stay calm, but you're taking it in, or whatever, traffic, people flipping you off. So we're taking in this, embodying this kind of anger about it. That's and especially if it's something you're in every day, whether it's a relationship or a work thing or something where you're entrenched in that. So I imagine that this anger that we're just kind of bottling up, or saying, oh, it's just rolling off my back, I don't let it bother me, I just ignore it. It's really going in there, so your practices can get that out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you need to get that out. You cannot be the absorption for other people's emotional energy. You need to be, and there's techniques that we show you how to protect yourself and deflect other people's emotional energy. Awesome. Just having, we talked about the aura. That is your protective coating through the world. Right. It brings you the good, juicy energies, and it keeps out that negative energy from your boss or your partner. And so to have an aura that's really strong, and that's a piece of that wake-up practice that I mentioned earlier. It helps to strengthen your aura as well. And, I think it's important to say, And I say this to people that are really sick, especially if a client has an autoimmune issue. One of the first things that you need to look at with an autoimmune issue or any kind of disease pattern that's that bad is your environment, especially with cancers, autoimmune. And you might need to leave. You might need to move out of your house completely if your environment is causing that kind of illness in the physical body, because that's another rule of energy. It's reflective of and influenced by the environment. And the same way is if you are in a work situation that is highly toxic, or a partnership relation that is highly toxic, the courage that you might need to bring up in the water element and the assertiveness in the wood element might be that you need to leave that situation.
Yes.
Before you, and I've heard so many stories of people, I was getting sick at work because the environment was so, and I finally quit my job, and now I'm healthy and I'm happy. And I'm not saying that this is easy. And, a lot of people kick and scream. They don't want to make any changes until they get the diagnosis, and they're like, okay, now I'm going to make the changes. But you could make them now before you got the diagnosis. And after you get the diagnosis, it's kind of like you have to change something.
Right.
You have to change. It's not, in my opinion, you can't just cut it out, whatever that it is. It doesn't work like that. You have to change. In order to change, you have to change.
And you also talk about all the toxins we have in our environment that gets into our organs. And like I do the liver cleanse, every 6 months. But there's things that you can do yoga-wise and energy-wise to release some of these toxins, right? Can you talk about how much of an overload toxins we've got and what's the issues there?
Yeah, we are overloaded with toxins. There's no question about that. And I'm really passionate about the power of union and community and making changes together, because that really is the power of our connectivity. And I talked about the movement of the Million Woman March and how it was just so incredible to see all of these women get together and assert their power, and change really is happening in large ways and in small ways. And one of the things I've always wanted to do, and if anyone out there is an organizer and can figure out how to do this, let's do this. So women account for 85% of the spending on household goods. I would say probably 90% of the toxins that we are soaked in come from things that we voluntarily bring into our homes. Febreze, any kind of fabric softener, air freshener, shampoos, conditioners, skin creams. People put glyphosate all over their yards to kill 2 dandelions. So we are voluntarily killing ourselves. And I'm not being overblown when I say that. We are actually bringing toxins into our physical body, all over our body. Our houses, LED lights are toxic. All of we're covered in them. And my hope is if we all got together, every woman in this country, and said, we're not going to buy chemicals anymore.
Right.
In one day,
yeah,
the chemical companies would be over kaput. And then we use the essential oils and we clean with grapefruit seed extract. There's so many things that we can do that are incredibly cleansing and detoxifying. And there's ways now, Dr. Zach Bush is working, doing beautiful work helping to reclaim farmlands from glyphosate use, which is increasing all kinds of autoimmune issues. So we are voluntarily doing this to ourselves. So, my first thing to say to people, and when they want to detox, first just go into your house. Get rid of everything that's got chemicals in it. Buy anything you're going to put on, in, or near your body, make sure it's organic. Your hair care, your face cream, your makeup, your soap, the dish soap that you wash with, the dishwasher soap that you put in, the laundry soap, the stuff that you mop your floors with. Get rid of the bleach, get rid of the toxins, and have your environment be healthy. And then it goes to your food, what you can eat. Obviously, if you can afford organics, buy organics. By the way, all of those cleaning products and face care products are way cheaper than your Febreze and all of that. You can buy a huge gallon of coconut oil. You can use that all over your skin, and it's so much cheaper than all of these fancy creams and whatever that have parabens in them. And so Organic foods are definitely a little more expensive, but you can always look to the clean 10, I think, or 15 that are the least toxic, that are non-organic, and you could start a little garden if you have a little plot of land, and then work on the toxins in the physical body. So we've got detox practices, working with your lymph, because that's the major detoxer of your body. So we've got these trigger points on our body that we massage deeply, and they help us to detox lymph. And then detoxing the emotional piece, which is huge. So doing that 5-element flow, which takes you through one pose for each of the 5 elements, and each of those poses has a sound. And you can do that whole 5-element flow in, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes, not even, once you learn it. Awesome. And that's this like continual detox from, we were talking about, your mean boss or your, angry partner, but we get emotionally knocked off center by someone cuts you off in traffic, yes, or cuts you off in Starbucks.
Right.
And that throw your whole day off,
Yeah. So, I'm glad you brought up I'm glad you brought up lymph, because for women that's so important. I'm very healthy, but the one thing that I have an issue with is lymph backing up into the breasts and armpits, and I know that's how. So women, I just always like to talk about this, because that's how we can get cancer, because the toxins are lymph is what carries the toxins out. There's no pump, so we have to be working it out ourselves. And when the toxins sit there and get into the breasts and the lymph nodes and the armpits, that's when we can get cancer. So not only keep exercising a lot and drinking our green juices and doing that. So you've got some specific things you can do, which I'm going to be trying, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, for detoxing lymph, these points on the body, and they're all there in the book. And in that book, you get an hour of free video that's also embedded, so you can see some of these practices if it helps you, if you're a visual learner.
Right.
But since you brought it up, I got to go there. You talked about breast cancer, and we all know the stats now. They're not good, and we don't want to be that 1 or 2 or 3 in that stat. Here's the thing, and Donna shares this as well, and I've sort of taken this on. Underwire bras. You got to get rid of them.
I got rid of mine quite a few years ago. I just couldn't stand the feel of it. I can't stand the feel of it either.
They feel horrible, but the wire or the plastic, either way, they got to go. Yeah. And I know, especially down in Southern Cal, that's where they start. That everyone's got the, yeah. So, but the more and more that women ask for really sexy, beautiful, wire-free bras, the more they're making them. 10 years ago, you couldn't find one. You all had to wear a sports bra. But now they're beautiful and they're lacy. And so if you wear an underwire bra, take it out. It is the single most dangerous thing that you can do for your breast health.
And now, why is that? Why?
So exactly what you were just saying. So lymph flows on its own. It doesn't have a pump, and it flows downwards on the core of the body. And when you've got these two things that stop, that's already at a kind of junction point in the body, right, where the breast meets, the breast tissue meets the physical, the rib cage, right? You've already got to do a turn there. The lymph can't drain. It gets stuck energetically and physically, and it can't drain. And and I don't know how many women do this, when you rip your bra off at night, and everybody says that. Nobody just says, I go home and I take my bra off. You rip your bra off like a Band-Aid, right? And then what do? You massage your boobs, because they're so sore, because they've been held. And not only can the lymph not drain, but the breast tissue itself doesn't move. Mm-hmm. And that natural movement of the breast tissue also helps the lymph to drain. So if you refuse to take your underwire bras off, when you do finally take them off at night, give yourself a deep massage in that C cup where the wire is, right up against the skin, right underneath the breast, really, really hard. And that will help to move the lymph out of the breast tissue and also out of the liver and stomach, because that's the reflexology points that you hit when you go there. Yeah. And if it's really sore, that really means that lymph is stuck there. And that's in the earth practice, because working with stomach and liver, actually it might be in the earth and wood practice, because liver's a wood element. But each element has those reflex points broken out into element, so that you can, if you're working in the earth element, you can work with the earth element lymph detoxing. Yeah. but your breasts, that's as earthy as you can get. So there's a study, and I put it in this book because I thought it was so fascinating. All these studies come out of France, of course, because they're different. They have different feelings about their breasts than we do.
Right.
They did a study there that actually not wearing a bra and wearing a bra, and it had no difference on how much your boobs sagged when you got older. So like all the people that are trying to keep their boobs up from sagging, it doesn't matter.
Right.
What's going to keep them from sagging is working with your spleen energy, because that's all about upward moving energy. But the other study that came out that I thought was so interesting was actually squeezing the breast tissue. So like taking your breast and like really squeezing it hard in a bunch of different directions can actually realign cancer cells into normal cells. So, I mean, the body is amazing. It wants to be whole. It wants to be healthy. It knows when it's out of balance, and it wants to come back into balance. So the more that you can give it what the body needs, clean air, clean water, clean environment, creativity, and love, that's all you need.
That's it.
It's really all you need. That's
All
it.
right. Lauren, thank you. This has been such a fascinating conversation. And you guys, the links are below to her website and book. And let us know, what are you doing to move your energy? Are you going to try any of these things? So we want to hear from you. Thanks, Lauren, and much love, everybody. Until next time.
Thank you.